Welcome to Paradigm Shift Parenting, a podcast for women who make their lives better by first making themselves better. At Paradigm Shift Parenting, we believe that self-improvement is the highest form of self-care. Each episode, we're going to either shift our mindset about something, explore the myth that motherhood and martyrdom are synonymous, replace the oh-so-trendy victimhood mentality with a healthy dose of accountability and responsibility, or simply explore the shared experiences of modern motherhood. I'm your imperfect host, Binky Bell, and I'm glad you're here. Happy New Year, guys. 2020. I'm excited. If you've been following me for a while, you know that I love new beginnings. The beginning of a week, beginning of a month, beginning of the year. Don't care. Love it all. So obviously I'm very excited about 2020. If you've been paying attention to my stories, then you'll know that I've made some pretty lofty New Year's resolutions. Specifically for the podcast and for my Instagram, what I'm doing here, I would really like to continue to grow this community. I have some plans to release my very first ebook. I'd like to kind of dip my toe in those waters a little bit. Like I said, I want to continue to grow this community because what I learned in 2019, the few months that I had the podcast, the response has been so good. I started this podcast, I started the Instagram, I've started talking about the things that I talk about because I felt a personal need for this message to be out there in the mothering community, in the community of women. So it's been really validating to me that everybody's responded really well because it shows me that other people have this need too. And just having all of you guys be so supportive just means the world to me. So I want to continue to grow this community, grow the podcast, grow the Instagram so that our message can be heard by the women who are looking for it, the women who want to hear it, the women who, like I've said, aren't subscribing to this bullshit theory that motherhood has to be miserable and thankless and lonely and all of that stuff, right? So today I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about my goals or the New Year's resolutions that we all have made. Today, instead, I want to spend just a little bit of time talking about what we're not doing in 2020. Because there's just a couple things that we're not going to do anymore. Now, obviously, these things that I'm going to talk about are very specific to me, but as I say all the time, our problems aren't that unique. So I feel like just by me talking about it, other people are going to resonate with it too, right? Because our problems aren't unique. So let's get into it. For 2020, the first thing that we're not going to be doing anymore is, it's kind of a twofer. I don't want to be bothered by other people's actions anymore. So because of that, I'm not going to be asking questions that I don't want to know the answer to. And what I mean by that is, because that's kind of like a mouthful, it's a little bit confusing. Let me explain. Sometimes we have friends or family members or acquaintances who, they're close enough. Maybe you're not really close to them, or maybe even you are, but they're the people who always have the same problem, right? Every time you talk to them, it's just like, ugh, like they bug the shit out of you, because there's just always something going on with them, right? They always have the same problem that they're not fixing. Maybe you have the weird uncle who like won't move out of his grandmother's house, or the brother who can't keep a job, the friend who's always saying she's going to leave her shitty husband, always complaining about her marriage, but won't do anything to fix it, right? Those people who, they just always have a problem and you're always affected by it because you want better for them, right? I have people like that in my life, and I've noticed that I find myself inquiring about these people. Sorry, I have something weird on my wall. I find myself inquiring about these people and always saying, like, oh, what's going on with so-and-so? What's going on with this person? And then I ask the question knowing very well that I'm going to be frustrated by the answer. I know that nothing's going to change, and then it's going to give me, if I'm being really honest, whenever this happens, it's like sometimes with certain people you get, I don't know, like a false sense of superiority. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Where you're like, oof, like at least I don't have that problem going on in my life. And that I don't think many people are willing to admit that. But here's what I think happens. I think sometimes whenever somebody in your proximity has a pretty bad problem, whenever we focus on that problem, it makes it a little easier to excuse our own problems. So for example, if you have somebody in your life who is a pretty severe alcoholic, like if they're really bad, like their drinking is really out of control, then maybe it makes you feel a little bit better about you drinking that bottle of wine every night. Or it makes you feel a little bit better about your binge drinking on the weekend. You can say, well, at least, I didn't lose my job because of alcohol, or at least it's not affecting my marriage. And then it allows you to not do anything about your own problem, right? We kind of use other people's issues as an excuse to not address our own. And obviously that's not the case all the time for everybody. But another factor of it is these people don't deserve my judgment, right? And I'm humble enough to admit that I judge people. And this whole like movement of people who are like, oh, like I don't judge anybody, I let everybody do what they want. I call bullshit on it. I mean, we all make snap judgments. Obviously, I don't let that affect how I treat people, but I do have judgments. So for me to take mental and emotional real estate, give it to them, that's not fair. They don't deserve that, and it's a waste of my time and energy. So 2020, we are just remaining unaffected by other people's behaviors and actions. I have a saying, it's not mine, obviously, you've heard it before, I'm sure, but not my circus, not my monkeys. I use that all the time whenever I find myself being frustrated, bugged, annoyed by other people's problems. I just say, okay, not my circus, not my monkey, we're moving on, right? So that's the big one for me. The second one here is we're not sticking to a script anymore. Too often we find ourselves playing a role. We're sticking to a script. We're the mindlessly supportive friend. We are the quiet wife. We're the person who plays it safe. We're the person who's just overweight. We're just not athletic. We're overweight. We always have been. That's the script that we were given, and that's the role that we're going to follow for life. You don't have to. You really don't. You don't have to wait till the next year to start over. You can start over every damn day. But what I'm finding personally is the more time that we spend sticking to a script, even things that are as simple as not posting what you want on social media. I've talked to a lot of people, and we all have run into this issue recently where we don't post certain things on social media. We don't say certain things. We don't express certain opinions because we want to maintain looking a certain way. I mean, even as simple as not posting certain pictures because it doesn't fit with our Instagram theme. And that's too much. We need to stop doing that. Obviously, if you're like running an Instagram account that's very heavily focused on design, you would probably need to make sure it looks a certain way. But for average people who have a specific message or something, I say post what you want. Stop sticking to the script. Stop reading all of the shit that says you can't do X, Y, and Z on social media, or you have to do this specific set of steps on social media. You don't. You can do whatever you want. Truly. Truly, truly. There, so many people are afraid to, as I've said, share opinions, talk about certain things because they don't want the confrontation of their family members or their coworkers or their friends seeing it on social media. Stop doing that. Get rid of those people. Make a separate account that they can follow to see pictures of your kids or your pets or whatever it is. We get so bogged down thinking that we have to be a certain way, do a certain thing, think a certain way, or express ourselves in a certain way, that for me, I really worry that I'm going to get to a certain point in my life where I fully regret not showing up a certain way, not doing the things that I want to do because I was so worried about what other people were going to say. You know what I mean? So 2020, I don't want to do that anymore. And you know what? I tried it for a while, especially as, what I'm trying to do here with the podcast and the Instagram and all of that. If you scroll through kind of the beginning of my Instagram, you can see where I tried very hard to make it look a certain way, because that's what the influencers do, right? Their feeds are very curated. They follow a script in their captions. They follow a specific type of, they post certain hashtags, and that's all very good and well. You can do that. But for me, I got to a point where I was censoring myself to look a certain way, to be a certain way, which obviously is insane. Like that, it's so stupid. And I can see it now in other people. They're altering their message. They're censoring their message to stay on brand, to look a certain way. And on brand doesn't necessarily apply to just business. Like, on brand is deeply personal as well. Like you're trying to sometimes stay true to a certain brand that you've made for yourself. And all I'm saying is, do you want to continue doing that? You don't have to, so let's stop the bullshit, stop following certain scripts, filling certain roles that we no longer subscribe to. Because we're focused on growth, right? All of us here, everyone who follows the Instagram and the podcast and stuff, we're all focused on growth. So we aren't going to grow if we continue to fill shoes that don't fit us anymore. You know what I mean? So let's not do that. Let's fuck up. Let's post things that are maybe offensive. Let's be vulnerable. Share vulnerable things, because the only way that we're going to grow is by truly owning our icky parts, showing up fully as ourselves, to see what works for us and what doesn't. So that's all I'm saying. I really wanted to keep this short. I just wanted to get an episode out on the very first day of the new year because I'm very excited. I hope you all had a wonderful New Year's Eve. I hope that we're all feeling good and we're all fired up because I know I am. Obviously, if you're watching this on YouTube, then that means that I was able to figure out the video editing. I'm all very new to this. You guys are watching me learn as I go. One thing that I'd like to do for 2020 is start implementing new videos, because I understand that not everybody enjoys listening to podcasts. Sometimes I feel like my message is, the blow is softened a little bit if you can see me say it. So if you're listening on the podcast and there is no YouTube video, then, you'll know that I couldn't figure it out. Maybe next week. I don't know. But I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you for listening. If you happen to like the episode, please share it on your social media. If you haven't yet, go by iTunes and leave me a review. That would help me a lot. And I'll see you guys in the next episode.